Well, hi, Jeff. Thanks for coming and talking to me about oblate formation and what it means to you to be an oblate today. Um, First, we can start with an easy one. How long have you been an oblate?
I have been an oblate since 2019, which was the last class before COVID. And I've been associated with the monastery a lot longer, but really made that commitment 5 years ago now.
Time goes fast, right? Well, the next thing I thought is I'd love for you to tell us just a little bit about why you chose to study Benedictine spirituality and the rule of Benedict by going through oblate formation.
Well, yeah, it actually came about almost secondary to my relationship to St. Paul's Monastery. So in the early 2000s, about 20 some years ago, I was starting to have a bit of a midlife spiritual renewal process. And this was, I think, kind of in conjunction with discovering Richard Rohr. About that time frame, and I really had not been aware of contemplative prayer prior to listening to my first audio recordings of Richard Rohr and his great themes of scripture. And it was fascinating to me at the time. It was like opened up a whole new world of what prayer could be like and what spirituality was all about. And so I was really kind of on fire for a while there to discover this new world and the writings of the mystics. So I started really exploring some of the people that Richard Rohr was talking about, including then Thomas Keating and his teachings on centering prayer. Well, as luck would have it, our small Christian community from St. John Newman in Egan, we had an ongoing small group, and we decided let's do a retreat somewhere. And we settled on a Saturday with Sister Virginia Motter at the Benedictine Center. She was doing a centering prayer Saturday retreat. And so that was my first experience there. And I hadn't really had any experiences of any retreat center prior to that. So this was, kind of opening a new door for me to be part of that. And so, then I got, we all got the introduction to centering prayer, and I practiced it for a while. I kind of found other contemplative prayer forms now, but centering prayer was a really good place to start. And that introduction is kind of what then led me into the world of retreat centers in general. So it wasn't too long after that I went on to grad school and got my master's in servant leadership, which kind of led to leaving the corporate world for my vocation. And I ended up, being the director of the Franciscan Center in La Crosse. And kind of all of that, I kept in my mind wanting to still be associated with this place in St. Paul. So after I came back from the center in La Crosse, I started volunteering at the Benedictine Center, and like you, became part of the advisory committee for the Benedictine Center. And all of that kind of then led me deeper into the Benedictine form of contemplative prayer and what the rule of Benedict had to say. And then kind of because I was becoming more immersed at the monastery, it just seemed natural at that point to then talk to Sister Mary Lou about becoming an oblate. For some people, it's different. They become an oblate first and then get really involved. For me, I was getting more involved, and it's like, well, why aren't I an oblate? I should be an oblate.
Right, right. Well, it sounds like it was really clear for you that it was going to be with St. Paul's Monastery versus someplace else.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that was partly because of location. Yeah, so I when I was working in La Crosse, and I was then also a Franciscan affiliate there, uh, but it wasn't possible to stay connected physically as often as I'd like. So that was really part of my desire, was to have a spiritual home that I could go to, every week or several days every week, and really be part of the place. And that's why I love the Benedictine value of stability, because it's all about being rooted in a place, a physical place that you can call your spiritual home, and that's what led me there.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that link to stability. That is such an important call for us, I think. So you're one of our great facilitators for initial oblate formation, and you lead an evening on the spirituality of leadership. So I'd love to know, Jeff, why is that topic important for our future oblates?
Yeah, I think when people think of leadership, they often, tend to think only of vocations, whether it's your job or some other aspect. But in reality, we're all called to be leaders in different places. So it could be our family lives, it could be volunteer efforts that we're involved in, and what and what because of my background in servant leadership, that's really the approach that I like to take with the spirituality of leadership, is that focus on the principles of servant leadership. And with servant leadership, the main aspect is that we're called to be servants first, and that's very Benedictine, that commitment to go from our life of contemplation to a life of loving service. And in that life of loving service, then if we take an approach of serving first and then leading, that makes us better leaders in whatever aspect of leadership we're called to. And so I think, for oblates, especially now as we're in a transition time for our community at St. Paul's Monastery, for the sisters and the oblates, we're all in a period of transition where we're desiring to continue to keep this Benedictine tradition alive, that the sisters have so wonderfully created at St. Paul's Monastery. We as oblates, would love to continue that. So we're going to be continuing to be called into expanded roles of leadership in different aspects of the ministries of St. Paul's Monastery. So for me, making that part of the initial formation, where the candidates get a sense of what does it mean to be a leader, a servant leader, and then tying that back to what the rule says about it. So Benedict had a number of things to say about leadership, partly in his chapters on the role of the prioress, partly in his other chapters about kind of different other roles in the monastic community. That there's a lot that I think mirrors each other between the principles of servant leadership and what Benedict has to say. So we want to just kind of introduce the candidates to all of that, so that they feel equipped to answer the call whenever something comes up in our oblate community.
Yeah. Well, and I love the way you, Jeff, embody servant leadership, and I love the way you really help us unpack those sections in the rule on leadership. Because again, sometimes it takes that more modern voice to help us understand what was written so long ago, but you really help bring it into today. So great. Finally, is there anything else you'd like to say about being an oblate with St. Paul's Monastery?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, it really has become my primary spiritual home. I find that uh, this form of community where it's not necessarily part of any one of the churches. It's kind of um, this community that's rooted in a spirit, and it's the spirit of Benedict that really compels to me. Richard Rohr always kind of talked about these orders like Benedictines, Franciscans, Dominicans, and so forth as being parachurch or church on the side, and I think that's kind of what we are. And for me, it's not on the side; it's kind of right in the center.
Mm. Well, again, I just so appreciate all that you have to say about being an oblate at St. Paul's Monastery, and it is a privilege to be in spiritual community with you. So thanks again, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Cami.